Hey everybody, it's your girl Jen. Welcome back to my channel. And if you're watching this, then you know what it is. It's Sexy Sunday. And we have been talking about some of the darker stuff, or we did last time, because it's October. Everybody loves Halloween, or your girl does anyway. So the one today is going to be kind of on the heavy side. So I'm out of champagne. Sorry, got my beer. And if you do drink, grab that drink because you're going to need it. And I probably should put in a trigger warning here. If you are, triggered or disturbed by the mistreatment of children, then you might want to bail now. And I will understand, if you don't watch this one. We'll be back to our normal stuff, our normal sexy Sundays very soon. So, with that said, today we're going to go back, y'all, way back to 1892, Sydney, Australia, where a plumber named James Mahoney was digging, he's digging up the pipes in the backyard, and, in the dirt, he found what he thought was a bundle of rags, like just old clothes down in the ground. And as he was removing the rags, oh my God, imagine the horror and the surprise when he realized there was a baby inside. Now, during those times, just day-to-day life was a struggle. Life was harsh. There was a high death rate from poverty and disease, and there was no such thing as job security. As you as you know, you would imagine the infant mortality rate was very high. Even with the high infant mortality rate, the plumber did reach out to the police. And there were many questions surrounding this baby. Whose baby is it? How did it get here? How did it die? Why was it in someone's backyard instead of having a Christian burial in a cemetery? All kinds of questions. So the police dug up the entire yard, and y'all, they found 7 tiny bodies. The whole backyard was a graveyard for babies. Now, back in those days, having a baby out of wedlock, it was frowned upon, and abortion was a no-no, and, very risky. Even if you did attempt to have an abortion, a lot of times you would die. So if you were unmarried and ended up pregnant, you were forced to give up your baby. These babies, they were taken to what was known as baby farmers. And back then, baby farming was a booming business. An unmarried mother would pay the baby farmers weekly, an allowance to take care of their baby. And the idea was that the baby would be taken care of until he or she could be introduced into the mother's family as a niece or a nephew. And now 18-year-old Amber Murray, she was a domestic servant, and she ended up pregnant. She was not married, so she took her baby to Sarah Makon. And Sarah and her husband John, they promised Amber they would add her son Horace to their growing nursery for a fee. They assure Amber that she can visit her son anytime she wants. But when she kisses her son goodbye, she does not yet know that this is the last time she will ever see him. See, Amber has just made a tragic mistake. Now, most baby farmers were decent and good people, but the Makons are poor and have kids of their own. And during this time, it was a major depression. So they figured out that the money given to them by these mothers would go so much farther if they did not have to spend it on the babies. And you know, y'all, Amber will never get to hold her son again. So, Sarah, she was supposed to be experienced in childcare, and Sarah was a powerful, spiteful, and vindictive woman. She felt no shame and was strong and aggressive. And at 47, she has spent her whole entire life caring for babies. But when these young mothers turn up to visit their babies, they would be greeted by strangers. They would just go there, and Sarah and her husband would be gone, and there's a stranger living in the house now. And Amber's baby Horace is already dead and buried. As a matter of fact, y'all, he is the one that the plumber found. But Horace was not the first nor the last. But there is a strange thing about secrets, y'all. They don't stay buried. Terrible story. Back then, it wasn't easy to track people down like it is today. You know, there wasn't no cell phones, no videotaping, but the police did find tenant records and finally tracked down Sarah and John Makon. The records they found showed the Makons had moved 25 times in 18 years. And y'all, in at least 3 of the places the Makons had lived, babies were excavated from the backyard. They even found babies buried in the backyard of their current residence. See, the Makons were continuously moving to keep from having to explain anything to the mothers. Babies came in and went out to the backyard. The police discovered the Makons had been engaged in this operation for some time. Some of the babies they found, they were just skeletons, and some looked very recent. In total, there was 14 babies found from the various yards of the places where they had lived. This had to take a lot of planning and a lot of cover-up. Sarah was above average intelligence. So for years, the Makons was taking money from desperate mothers and then disappearing. You know, babies are vulnerable, not to mention easy targets. They're weak, independent, and helpless. They can't fight back. Y'all, Sarah would have had to have been a stone cold sociopath to kill babies for money. Now, how could anyone do that? No matter how hard the times were. Sarah, she did. Sarah was a serial killer. And you know, they never did determine how these babies actually died. But there was a problem. Just because the babies are buried in the backyard does not prove they were murdered. Because the times were so hard, babies died all the time. Now, y'all remember Amber? Well, her baby Horace is the one that gave the police the evidence that was needed. See, Horace was delivered perfectly healthy only 2 days before. And the lady that delivered Horace actually identified the clothing that was put on him after he was born as the clothing he was still wearing when the plumber found him in the backyard. Sarah and John, they were both sentenced to death. Now, John, he dies on the gallows. He was hung. But you know what? Sarah, for whatever reason, was shown more mercy than she ever showed her tiny victims, and her sentence was commuted to life in prison. Yeah, she should have hanged right along with her husband. They never found out how the babies were actually murdered, but I'm guessing suffocation. You know, and the good thing about this is that it led to a change in the laws regarding children. It brought about child protection laws and legislatures, but a little too late. It still didn't save these little babies. These women, they only needed a little help for a few months. And let's not forget, these mothers were paying for their babies to be taken care of. But in the end, they unknowingly handed their most precious gift in their life, their most precious thing, to a cold blooded monster who took these precious lives for money. And I'm sure there is a special place in hell for anyone who mistreats children. And I can understand how hard it is. When my son was born, I was very young. My mom took care of him for me, but I couldn't imagine. But I was married, but I couldn't imagine being back in those days when there was no help anywhere. You know, so it's sad and it's tragic, and like I said, it was a heavy one. So next time we're going back to our normal stuff because your girl can't handle all this heaviness. I can't stand people like that mistreat children or older people or vulnerable people. It's just wrong. And like this video, dislike this video if you didn't like it. I might try to get something else up before Halloween, but it won't be this heavy, okay, I promise. And I'm wearing my mask because the hubs bought it for me. Yeah, I have a good husband. He bought me my mask and wanted me to wear it, so here we are. Anyways, thanks y'all. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time. Sure will.